morning and welcome to another episode of Business Beat with me, Odette. Last week, we spoke about the business of entrepreneurship, what it takes to really start up a business and build a business and ultimately a brand. This week, I'm talking to a man who is taking of his own money and investing in as many startups, side hustles as possible to grow the entrepreneurship pool in South Africa. Please welcome Nic Haralambous. Good morning, Nic.
Hi, thanks so much for having me.
Nic, I read that you're giving people 1,000 Rand of your own personal money for 365 days in order to fund their side hustles and get their startups off the ground. Is this true?
Yeah, that's correct. Off the back of my recently published book, I decided to launch a fund, which is a non-profit company. And every single day, I give away 1,000 Rand plus 30 minutes of my time coaching people on how to start their side hustle.
This is fantastic. You're also the author of a book called The Side Hustle. Is this how your business and your brand started ultimately as a side hustle?
Yeah, I've been building businesses since I was 16 years old. So I am very familiar and very comfortable with building businesses on the side and fully fledged startups and companies. But yeah, my life has basically been one big side hustle.
And what do you find when people come to you and say, I have a side hustle that I'd like to build? What do you find are the disillusions that a lot of young people have, or people who aspire to be business owners?
Yeah, there are some key things that come up all the time, especially when I'm running my online course with my students. The first is I don't have enough time. The second is I don't have enough money. And the third is I'm fearful of failure. And those things are very common. And the book that I've written, How to Start a Side Hustle, deals with the ways to get over these. And it's also what I do in the coaching on the Slow Fund winners, is help them deal with these things.
So you speak about time, you speak about money, and you speak about the fear of failure. When we talk about time, time is essentially money. And when you're running your own business, it takes up all of your time. In fact, sleep, as some of us well know, is a luxury that business owners don't tend to have much of. What advice do you give to these people about the investment of time and what they need to come to terms with in order to build their side hustle?
Yeah, I think the first key thing to remember is the target audience for this book and my courses is people who have full-time jobs who are trying to build something on the side. This is not something that you're going to take immediately into a full-time job, 12 hours a day. So I'm very firm to tell people that you should only allocate the time you can afford. Mm-hmm. But I do ask in the book for people to do something called an hour audit, where you take a full week and hour by hour from Monday to Sunday, you account for what you do every hour. And then you very quickly realize where your time goes. So I like to remind people that you don't have a time problem, you have a priority problem. And if everything is a priority, then nothing is a priority.
I love how you frame that, because that is so important. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have a side hustle that they aspire to grow into something that's much bigger than a side hustle, when in fact, it's probably destined to remain a side hustle. And perhaps they are hustlers who need to have more than one side hustle rather than taking a side hustle and building it into a business empire.
This is one of the big things that people struggle with, is expectation management. Is you think that your side hustle should make you R1 million a month after the first week and everything will be amazing and you're going to be a billionaire, when in fact you've just built a really tidy side hustle that generates 5,000 to 6,000 Rand a month, pays for your car or helps you save money. That's absolutely amazing. There's nothing wrong with that. We just live in a world where we are surrounded by these headlines telling us to go bigger and go more, when I'm happy to have a few side hustles that make 5,000 or 6,000 Rand a month each. That's great.
I know that not all startups ever make it to the finish line. In your experience, what is the percentage of startups that actually succeed and fail?
Yeah, the numbers are brutal. Look, they're updated all the time and constantly changing, but the most common recited one is that 85% of businesses fail within the first 18 months.
Wow,
thereafter, the remaining 15%, we're looking at another 90% that fail within the first 5 years. Wow. So the failure rate is massive. And this is why my fund, the goal is to start more businesses, because statistically, the more you start, the more survive.
I'm of the firm opinion, and I know that from our previous conversations, so are you, that business South Africa, government in South Africa cannot absorb all the unemployed people. I mean, we have an unemployment rate, I think, at the SONA address was 33.33%. It's the highest it's ever been. And the real solution to a vibrant economy is entrenched in entrepreneurship. And from your perspective, what do young graduates who go and study something to build a career, what do they need to bear in mind about a potential future in this recessed economy with the high unemployment rate?
Yeah, I think graduates are dealing with a lot. There high competition with jobs that exist, not enough jobs that do exist, not enough companies surviving, and coming out of this pandemic is going to take us, I mean, conservatively 5 years to get back to where we were prior to the pandemic. And the only way to resolve this is to build more businesses. Government talks a good game. The private sector likes to brag about supporting small businesses, but they don't. And that's why I started the Slow Fund. I put my money where everybody else's mouths were. And I believe that action is the only way we're going to solve this problem. And to be clear, we are in a recession. We're heading towards depression. It is going to get worse before it gets better. And we need to start gaining control of the ways we make money. And that means not relying on a job, but also our skills to bring in the income we need.
You just hit the nail on the head, and it's a perfect way to close our conversation. I can talk to you for ages, but skills. Everybody is so unaware of their natural talents and how that translates into a skill that they could use, as a side hustle or to implement on a broader scale to create some kind of revenue. Too many people are reliant on, I have a degree or I have a diploma, but they forget that they have inherent skills that they could use to turn a dime, as they say, and, start a side hustle. Thank you so much for your time, Nic. First things first, I'd like to know how people who are keen to get to you to access that funding, where do they go? Tell us.
So 2 places. The first is go to slowhustle.org to either contribute to the fund or to apply. Otherwise, search me on LinkedIn and you can find me there, Nic Haralambous, and I do most of what I do on LinkedIn. But slowhustle.org is the place.
Thank you so much. Nic said something valuable to corporate South Africa. If you would like to contribute to the unemployment solution in South Africa, perhaps you want to consider contributing to a fund that is looking to grow entrepreneurs, side hustles, and startups. That may be where your money would be well spent. Until next week.